Oh, hey, good morning. If you've been following me on social media and you ever look at my stories, you see that my stories are full. Literally at all times, I'm sharing what I believe to be trustworthy information with occasional slip-ups. I did share Brene Brown's Instagram post before I read her blog post, which was really bad, and we'll talk about that. But then I apologized. I said, sorry, I liked the sentiment that was on the actual image. I did not actually read and agree with and support and intend to share her blog post, which was trash. We'll talk more about that. I want to say, though, that first of all, most people still, I don't know if this is the algorithm or what, but maybe the algorithm of my life, I don't know. But most people are not talking about the Palestinian genocide. Like, the Israeli government and the Israeli military are fucking monsters. Like, there is so much evidence from so many reliable sources, including video of Israeli soldiers doing horrific things. There's United Nations evidence, there's Amnesty International evidence, there's Human Rights Watch evidence, there's Al Jazeera evidence. The people who don't give you evidence are Western media, and they are doing maybe slightly better, but Western media has a bias which is probably baked into their policies to protect Israel. So Israel is always everybody's priority in Western media. Israel was Brene Brown's priority. That's the problem, in a nutshell, of her blog post, was that she prioritized the feelings of her Jewish friends, because she did not want to offend them. She said she has close ties, she's connected to the Jewish community, she did not want to be offensive. She prioritized Israel and the handful of hostages that are presumably still alive somewhere underneath all the destruction everywhere in Palestine. She prioritized those people over 30,000 dead Palestinians, including thousands and thousands of children. I don't understand, like, in the most deep, like, human place in my spirit, I do not understand the lack of concern when you can see it. There are endless images of dead Palestinian children. So for someone to think that it is more important to declare Hamas a terrorist organization, to declare, but I'm not anti-Semitic, to declare, but I don't want to hurt my Jewish friends' feelings, to declare Israel has a right to exist. First of all, that's a bad question. And people keep wanting folks to affirm Israel's right to exist. And I am sorry if this offends you, but Israel actually does not have the right to exist in a place where people already exist. And the fact that folks work their brains in such a way that they can justify settler occupation in a place where people already live, land given to you by people that don't live there. It's not like the Palestinians were like, yo, y'all can come here. We know that Europe doesn't want you after World War II. We know that Europe doesn't really want you, and they're not going to keep you safe. We know that the US doesn't really want you, so they're all working together to give you some place to be. The Palestinians were not like, you can have our house. But that's what happened. In 1948, Jewish people and the UN and the world put together the state of Israel, an ethno-state, a place for specifically where Jewish people are safe, but also fully human, prioritized. And then they killed everybody that lived there or pushed them away, and then proceeded to take more and more land for many years. I don't really understand, again, I don't understand the cognitive acrobatics required to be like, that's fine. Especially for progressives in the US who arguably understand that the US settling, the Americans settling on North America, that it was a genocide of epic proportions where we killed everybody who lived here or moved them eventually to Oklahoma. If you think that's bad, like you're able to hold in your mind that like the enslavement of people of African descent is bad, and that genociding people so that you can take their shit is bad, but then you still want to argue that Israel has the right to exist, meaning has the right to be in Palestine, it doesn't make sense. And I could go on and on about this. And I do also want to say that when I encounter people in the wild who I believe have similar politics to mine, and yet have no knowledge or understanding of the current situation, it's very annoying. Because I'm like, you care about all these other things and you have such easy access. Instagram, you could follow hundreds of accounts on Instagram and get so much up-to-date breaking information, and or follow me, because I don't have all of it, but I have access to a lot because I follow a lot. My entire Instagram feed is about horrible shit happening in the world, which is not pleasant. It's horrible. There are days when I cannot look at the images that are shared on Instagram, because particularly the ones of dead children, because I, unlike many others apparently, see the world's children as my children. If it can happen to a child in Palestine, it can happen to a child here. The world is such a terrible, terrible, terrifying place, specifically because of violence that is rooted in power, resources, land. People want to take shit because they want it. And that's what we're looking at all over the world. And it's not the only genocide. Palestine is not the only genocide that's happening. There's shit happening in Sudan. There's shit happening in Congo. There's shit happening many other places that if I listed them all, then this video would go in a different direction. But the one in Palestine is unique at the moment because the genocide happening in Palestine, you can watch it. Like it's happening right now. During the Super Bowl, the Israeli government invaded Rafah, which is the one place that people had collected, Palestinians had collected, pushed up against the border to be safe. And during the Super Bowl, when millions and millions of Americans specifically are distracted, they went in and killed a bunch of people. They've said that they're killing everybody. They said that they want the fucking land. They want the entire area that a person just walked in front of my car. That's what that was. They want the whole place. They want the whole fucking place. And they want to get rid of all the Palestinians. And there's no way you can argue that that's not what's happening. Like the whole world knows that's what's happening. So when progressive Americans are quiet about this and they don't have shit to say about it, or they're like, it's complicated, I don't understand. The fuck do you not understand? What you do understand is that the propaganda machine of the Western media and the propaganda machine of Israel specifically has indoctrinated so many of us into solidarity with a made up state, and has caused us to abandon our humanity and somehow make sense of and justify what is happening to Palestinians. When you have to also understand, first of all, that no people submit to an apartheid or to oppression or to, like, a people with any spirit at all are going to fight back when they are restricted, oppressed, harmed. Resilience of spirit is something that we should celebrate in humanity. Resilience of spirit is what causes armed militias to arise out of oppressive states. So again, if you're a progressive American and you, for example, can totally justify and understand Black Panthers, you can totally justify and understand the Second Amendment, for example, where you have the right to defend your home against an armed militia, which is not going to happen, by the way. That was a long time ago that was written. It's garbage. October 7th was a predictable outcome. It's a predictable outcome, and the current outcome is that Israel's just showing its ass to everyone all over the world, and just like a big fucking middle finger to international law, period. So, our money. When I tell you the IRS tried to track me down and threaten me for like this last, $500 or something that I owed in taxes from last year, I wanted to write them a strongly worded letter and be like, go fuck yourself. You will not be getting my tax dollars because you're not using it appropriately. I have to pay a lot of student loan money. I don't make that much money and I pay a lot of taxes. I have to pay for, I owe $113 to BJC, which is the medical, whatever here, because one of my labs wasn't covered because it wasn't considered preventive for my annual last year. The fuck? I owe $113. Meanwhile, all of our tax money, so much tax money, billions and billions of dollars, goes to fucking Israel so that they can have healthcare. The conflation of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism is intentional and depraved. The conflation, if you don't know what conflation means, because I don't want to assume everyone does and I don't want you to miss this point. The conflation means to put things together that don't go together. Putting together anti-Semitism with criticism of the Israeli government, putting those things in the same place to shut people up is depraved and diabolical. Also genius, much like white supremacy in general. White supremacy is a fucking diabolical plan that worked really well. The Republicans are a party of fucking diabolical, evil monsters, that many of whom are very smart, and it's terrifying. We're gonna lose the election in 2024 if we run Biden, which clearly is what's going to happen. Biden is grossly underestimating the offense that those of us who are paying attention feel and experience at them murdering children with our tax money. The United States is so complicit in this, but it's relevant because Joe Biden has called himself a Zionist. Joe Biden loves Israel. Israel is a creepy fucking thing at the moment. The relationship with Israel, it's geopolitical posturing. It has to do with resources, right? We need an ally in the region. But the alliance is creepy as fuck at the moment, because the alliance and the commitment that either Joe Biden specifically or the United States government or whatever shit's going on behind the scenes that we're not privy to, it trumps everything. Also, the Israeli military, the actions of the Israeli military, like the degree to which human beings have had to be indoctrinated with dehumanization is profound and disturbing. Because the people who have been indoctrinated with hate and fear of Palestinians, because of that indoctrination, they are able to see Palestinians as less than human and worthy of the horrible things that they're doing to them. The irony of people of Jewish descent performing horrific acts of genocide against a people via dehumanization that results in torture, mutilation, sexual violence. The irony of people of Jewish descent, actively Jewish people, not just culturally Jewish, but people who are Jewish, doing things to other people because of ancestral fear of it happening to them and or memories of their grandparents or aunts, uncles, like relatives who have experienced the horrific, dehumanizing terror of Nazi Germany. Like, for a single Jewish person to be like, this is fine, like, I don't understand. Because the dehumanization required to be okay with what is happening to Palestinians, you have to believe that they are not important. You have to believe that they are not fully human. You have to believe that they are evil. You have to. If you do not believe those things, then you are watching this the way I'm watching this. Like, what the actual fuck is wrong with you? Watching the Israeli soldiers, I'm like, what the actual fuck is wrong with you? And the answer is propaganda and indoctrination, coupled with ancestral fear of annihilation. However, that doesn't work in this case because you're doing the thing. So if you see all of these, like, and I'm not saying anything about Jewish people, like, I'm not Jewish, I'm not anti-Semitic. I think all religion is equally ridiculous. I don't believe in any of it. You have the right to worship how you want to. You have the right to do whatever you want to. You have the right to all of your own beliefs. You have the right to question. So this is, again, like, if you're watching this and you're like, that's anti-Semitic, it's fucking not. It's fucking not. It's a human being wrestling with, like, how in the world do people who have been so harmed rationalize or justify harming other people? Like, how? I do not understand. This video is 18 minutes long. I could talk about this for days. So when people like Brene Brown want to have a hot take, right? But their hot take is not hot. Their hot take is lukewarm at best. Their hot take is, can't we all just get along? I feel bad for everyone. It's complicated. There are bad actors on both sides. Well, the truth is, oppression is unidirectional. Hamas, well, a terrorist organization, no one's arguing at all that the things that Hamas did on October 7th, no one's arguing that that wasn't fucking terrible, violent shit. Like, it's unforgivable to be violent most of the time. However, the proportionality of the response has rendered this argument about October 7th completely useless. I don't want to hear about it. The handful of people who are remaining hostages that are Israelis, I care about them. I do not care about them more than I care about 30,000 Palestinians. They're not more important. Their lives are not worth more. Your life is not worth more than my life, and your life is not worth more than a Palestinian child's life. Whether that child is taking its first breath or has been on the earth for 15 years so far. It doesn't matter. No one is more important than anyone else, and no one has the right to occupy someone else's home. If you want to be like, well, are you going to give Indians their land back? Fuck yeah. If I could, if there was a way, like, I'd be like, come on, like build a house between my house and the neighbor's house. Build a house on this side. Have my backyard. I don't want you to kill me, but I'll share. It was yours to begin with. The fuck? I don't have anything to do with that. But I tell you what, today, I'm not trying to take other people's shit. I'm not trying to steal your shit. I'm not trying to be like, that's mine now, which is literally what colonization is. It's settler colonization is going into some place and being like, this is mine now, and using whatever power, usually violence, that you have to take it. It's not complicated. And I am missing, there's so many pieces that I'm leaving out, and so much nuance that I'm leaving out, and like I don't actually, like, we don't have all day. But like, my point is, primarily, the United States just vetoed a ceasefire for the third time. The United States was the only country that vetoed a ceasefire. We are complicit in evil. If evil is real, which I don't know that evil is real, but if evil is real, this is real. This is evil. Continuing to murder journalists, medical workers, to bomb hospitals, to bomb schools, to destroy the everything that represents the culture of human beings who live in Palestine. If evil is real, that is evil. That was not about killing the people involved in October 7th. That was not about returning hostages. That was about, look at this opportunity that we have. It's like the most opportunistic political move ever. And it's really weird that y'all don't care more. Because it's scary as fuck that the United States is co-signing this shit. The Israeli military is creepy as fuck. These are evil human beings who have been desensitized to violence and who have been taught to dehumanize others to the extent that they can do horrible things and then make a video celebrating it. It's depraved. It's disgusting. And that's not to say that other human beings all over the earth do not behave this way. This is not unique. This just happens to be recorded. It's not unique. Human beings are broadly capable of disgusting, horrible violence. Mostly men. But in order to commit these kinds of acts, you have to have systematically dehumanized a people. And I say all of this because I'm giving a talk on Sunday at the Ethical Society, where in my leadership role, I can't really speak out about this without potentially alienating culturally Jewish members of our community. So I don't say anything, although I'll probably say something on Sunday. But on Sunday, I'm giving a talk about humanizing interpersonal practices, meaning like, if the problem here is dehumanization, like the rooted problem is like, it's okay for me to take your shit because you don't really matter as a person. You're not as important as me. If that's ultimately the root of all of this horrible shit happening in the world, then the most resistant practice that we can have is humanizing each other and never, ever, ever allowing ourselves to see someone else as less human than we are, as less deserving of life and liberty and peace and happiness and freedom than we are. You are not more important than me. I'm not more important than you. And I'm certainly not more important than anyone who is currently sheltering in Rafah and hoping not to get murdered. It is not okay to kill people. It's not okay to steal their land. None of this is okay. This is not normal. This is not okay. And we are being so systematically desensitized and propagandized. So please, 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 if you have not figured out all of this stuff yet. I just got upset and spilled coffee on myself, and it's very hot. If your spirit has not been wounded, you have not been looking at anything. You've been reading the New York Times. The New York Times, which, by the way, you will notice if you do explore other options, Western media, for example, describes Palestinian children as dying and Israelis as being killed. Describing Israelis as children and describing Palestinian children as minors or people. The language of dehumanization is wild. And if you are a white person, especially, who cares about anti-racism in America has been a hot topic for quite a while now, particularly since Ferguson in 2014. Since Michael Brown was killed, we've really started wrestling with anti-racist practices. If you're doing that work, you have to also do this work. You have to also understand the way all of the same issues and problems that plague the United States when it comes to racial dynamics is also in play here, because we have been desensitized to Black and brown suffering, and we have been hypersensitized to what we perceive as white suffering. We have more empathy for white people. It is not a coincidence. And I know I've had Jewish friends argue with me and be like, well, Jewish people are not all white. Jewish people in America broadly are perceived as white. So when you, and people who live in Israel, they're not like native Israelis, because Israel wasn't a thing. So they're people from all over the world, from the Jewish diaspora, like they're all over the world. Most of them look white. White supremacy has taught us to care more about people who look like us being harmed. It is not mysterious that people are way more concerned about the 200 remaining hostages that were from Israel, therefore perceived as white and therefore perceived as innocent. That those people matter more to many Americans, whether they're conscious of it or not, than 30,000 dead Palestinians, including thousands and thousands of children. It's fucked up. It's gross. I need y'all to pull these threads. I need y'all to be thinking about it. I don't care if you agree with me. I don't care if you think my analysis is unsophisticated. I do not care. What I care about is the fact that I know that this is wrong and it needs to stop. Have a good day. This is very long. If you got this far, thank you for watching my TED Talk.